I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is Builders again. Good strong tea. I've got a splitting headache, so if I'm squinting a little bit during this video, that is the reason why. Today we're going to talk about Kickstarters. I had an uncomfortable conversation with another gamer recently. Uncomfortable for me, at least. I'm not sure about him, but when we were playing Moonrakers, one of the people I played with asked me how much it cost backing on Kickstarter. I might add, this is not the base game. I got the Titan box, but I got expansions and upgrades, not like a whole big box of things. I didn't even get everything that was on offer. But I hesitated to tell him. I was actually kind of ashamed to tell him. It was the most money I have ever spent on a Kickstarter. And actually, it's the most money I've ever spent on a game. I don't think I will ever spend that amount of money on another game. As I've said in another video, I'm more of a $30 to $40 a pop kind of game girl, and usually actually a lot less than that, because we like small box games. We like things that play quickly, because we also do other things on weekends. I mean, we're kind of weekend board gamers, but we're doing other stuff too. And if you can drop a game onto the table and set it up and play it in a half an hour, then that leaves room for other bits of life. But that conversation, I really squirmed when he asked me about how much for the Titan box. I really did. And I mean, especially since, I'm a casual board gamer, and that was not a casual price, let me tell you. So I did a little bit of looking into my Kickstarter buying habits to find out if I was a profligate Kickstarter spender. Because I know a lot of people spend huge amounts of money on Kickstarter games, and you know, they get dozens of Kickstarter games a year. And back that many every year. So I looked into it, and the numbers are actually kind of interesting. I've been on Kickstarter for 2 years now, a little over 2 years. And in that time, I have backed 21 projects. 4 of those were not games. They were household items that Robert and I both wanted and could have actually gotten in some other way. But yeah, 4 of those were not even games. So we're just going to focus on the games here. And of the games, of the remaining games out of 4 minus 21, oh, somebody do the math. I didn't write it down. Anyway, 7 of those games that we backed, things that actually were games, they were print and plays, they were button shy games, or they were postcard games that I mailed to my friends. So yeah, 4 are not games. 7 are games that are basically so small they don't even have a box. So yeah. Now that leaves 10 games. 7 plus 4 is 11, minus 21 is 10. So we've got 10 games that have actual boxes to them. They're big enough to actually put into a box. Of those, 2 were for other people. I backed the Ukrainian version of Catapult Feud because the publisher, war had broken out, and he had games sitting in the warehouse. He couldn't distribute them. He was trying to keep things alive and cover his cost and everything, and while bombs were falling. So I backed that, and there was an option to donate the game to a kid in the Ukraine. So that's what I did. I backed the game to help out the publisher. I donated my game to a kid in the Ukraine. And I also backed a pricey game for my niece, who is a college student, because I really remember how the financial constraints of being a college student. I mean, I knew that this was not something that she was going to back, and it was something that she would really like. So, 2 for other people. Not showering games on myself. I'm going to kind of set those aside. So that leaves 8 games. 8 games in 2 years. I know there are some people, 8 games is like a slow month on Kickstarter, but so of those 8 games, in actual boxes that I got for myself, all mine, 5 of those are small box games. And 2 were games that were not actual games. It was just expansions and things like that. So, I mean, 5 are small box games. And I mean, when I give examples of games that are not big enough to put into boxes, I mean like button shy games and postcard board games and the print and play games. And when I'm talking about small box games, I'm thinking about things like Fedora Noir, which I still haven't played yet because it requires exactly 4 players. And being a storytelling game, I kind of feel like I need just the right group to do this. Or Tiny Epic Dungeons. Or the game we just got in, Library Labyrinth. And we played this weekend and we really loved it. This is from a small publisher in England. And that's something that you're just not going to be able to get elsewhere. But I mean, I'm backing small stuff, lots of small stuff, but actually not that many lots of small stuff because we're talking about 8 games here. So, and 2 of the games we backed were expansions. One is expansions for Canvas, which Robert and I both like. The other is the aforementioned I almost splashed the tea onto the games, and that would have been so bad. I don't normally allow drinks at the table when I'm doing game stuff, and that's the reason why. The Moonrakers, the aforementioned Titan box. This isn't the base game, and this isn't everything. This is just the expansions and a few upgrades. So it looks massive, and the cost was massive, but it's not like I went all in and got the base games and all the expansions and all the upgrades for a game I'd never played before. No, I got this because I really like the game, having already played it. So, so what does that leave? A game in a regular size box that's not an expansion, that's not a small box game, at least as far as I know. I don't think it's a small box game. That's not so tiny it doesn't require a box. That leaves 1 game, and that's Muskoka, which hasn't delivered yet. So, yeah, I mean, when you kind of break it down, I mean, small purchases do add up. Do not get me wrong. I'm not deluding myself that small purchases don't add up. But Moonrakers is very much an outlier. It's not like those 21 projects, 4 of which weren't games. Let me see, that's minus. So that's what, 17? No. 18. No, 17. Yeah, 17. See, I can do math on my fingers. As you can imagine, math games are something of a challenge for me. Anyhow, of the, 17 games that I've backed on Kickstarter in a little over 2 years, a couple for other people, stuff for myself. It's like mostly small games and games that are so small they don't even require boxes. And I've got that Voyages game that I've mentioned that I like so much is a print and play game. Library Labyrinth. This is actually, I think, the biggest box of the small box games that I've got, and it is pretty compact. It's mostly just a few small things here and there. So, I mean, yeah, I spent a ton of money on Moonrakers, like an embarrassing amount of money, because I was literally embarrassed to discuss it. But I'm not doing that very often. In fact, I'm not doing that at all. This is definitely the exception to the rule. I'm just buying a few little things, a few cheap things along the way. Most of the time, I research games before I get them. I will say that I don't feel like that Kickstarter is a good fit for me. This year, in fact, I've only backed one game, and that is the the next round of the postcard board games. I backed that on Kickstarter, and that'll be delivered in June. So, like, really short turnaround, pretty inexpensive. So, that's the only thing I've backed this year. There are a few things that I have thought about backing that I like the look of. There's definitely stuff that turn up on Kickstarter that I like the look of. But most of the stuff that I found that I was interested in enough that I might want to back it are things that were put out there by major publishers and they're going to hit retail. So it's like, and this will give me more time to think about it. And this is why I don't think that Kickstarter is a particularly good fit for me. I like to think about games. I not only just research games, but games that I think I might like, I don't say, ooh, gimme, and I put it on my shelf. I have a few times, and impulse purchases sometimes don't work out well for me, so I try not to do that. But I mean, mostly if I see a game that I want, it doesn't go on my shelf, it goes on my wish list. So Kickstarter has this thing where it's like the campaigns last, I've seen some campaigns that only lasted a couple of weeks, but most campaigns, particularly for larger games, they're going to last like a month. And honestly, for me, that's not enough time. I mean, it's enough time to research a game and decide that it might be something I would like, but it's not actually enough time for me to decide if I want to buy it. So, I end up for a lot of Kickstarter games over the past couple of years, I just dither and dither and dither and dither and dither, and then I decide, I don't know, I guess I'll wait. And I don't back a lot of stuff. I mean, back this because I already knew I would like it, and it's big. And I backed Canvas expansion. We like Canvas. I backed a couple of things on Gamefound because I was forced to get a Gamefound account because one of my Kickstarters that I was backing used the Gamefound Pledge Manager, and I had to have a Gamefound account to do it. So I wasn't real happy about that. But I did back a couple of Gamefound campaigns. I backed a very small solo card game. You see a theme here. Small, inexpensive, that kind of thing. And I backed expansions for a game Robert and I like called Space Explorers, which is a small box game. So it's like, yeah, I'm not even backing a small box game. I'm backing the small expansions for the small box games. Small is a recurring theme with me. But, I mean, we mostly play light games. We mostly play on weekends. We mostly play two-player. Small box games are a very good fit for us. And we have found some that we just love. So yeah, I've backed a couple of Gamefounds. They haven't come in yet. After they deliver, I don't know that I'm going to ever back another Gamefound. I backed the card game Michelle over at Second Star at the Left. She did a preview for In Dreams, and the artwork is just beautiful. And it's an interesting concept for a game. So I backed that because it was just so compelling. Also, small, inexpensive. I'm not venturing very much. It's like I'm not going all in on something that I have no actual on-the-table experience of. And the other thing was I just found out quite by accident that a game that we both like had expansions on Gamefound. So that was kind of neat. But I kind of don't think I have a problem with Kickstarter. I mean, this is definitely an outlier. For me, I'm backing really cheap stuff and not vast quantities of it either. But yeah, it made me uncomfortable. And talking about how much I spent on Moonraker, which is not on actual Moonraker, it's just on the expansions and some upgrades. But this is a game that we're going to play like for the rest of our lives over and over again, and that we enjoy immensely. And that's the thing with things like upgrades and expansions. I'm not one of these kind of people that feels like I've got to have all of everything. I didn't even get all the stuff on offer for Moonrakers, the neoprene mat, and it seems like there was something else in there. Oh yeah, the negotiation board. It's like there was stuff in the campaign that I kind of thought, can I live without that? And the answer was, yeah, sure, easy. So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing. And I mean, that's the way it is with a lot of the Kickstarters that I back. I look at them and I'm going like, do I really want that? Do I really need that? If it's a game that I already like, then I'm going to be looking at the Kickstarter and seeing, can I get upgrades for it? Can I get an expansion that's going to make the game even better and add more material? So that's kind of the way I look at it. And I back a few new projects, but they tend to be really small. Flamecraft. My camera right now is sitting on top of the Flamecraft box on a tiny little tripod. And I looked at Flamecraft on Kickstarter and I thought it looked cute, but I wasn't sure about it because it's not a game I'd played before. It wasn't an expansion to a game I'd played before. It was big. It was, I don't know, it just seemed like it had lots of stuff that was really neat and cute and like little dragon minis and stuff. And I thought, I don't know. And so I didn't get it. And now I've got the retail version. It doesn't have some Kickstarter upgrades. It has Dragon Meeples instead of Dragon Minis. And I don't even know what the difference is between that and the Kickstarter. But I popped the box open and I looked everything over and it looks good to me. It's retail, but it looks good to me. So I don't feel like I have to have the newest, best, biggest, shiniest, ultimate everything. And so I kind of feel like, yeah, I can just kind of go like nuts every once in a while. This is kind of a once in a lifetime kind of thing here, but I'm not going to do it too much. And like I said, one set of postcards for postcard board games this year. That's it. And I don't have anything on the horizon. I just found out today that they're coming out with a second Prelude expansion for Terraforming Mars. I'm not going to back it. I mean, it's not that I think it's going to be horrible or anything. I don't know anything about it. I will definitely look at the Kickstarter to see if there's anything in the Kickstarter that would be good to get for a game that I already love and that I already have some expansions for, including the original Prelude. But I'm just thinking, yeah, I don't know. It's going to come to retail. So, I mean, unless they can make a really, really compelling case as to why I should buy something via Kickstarter instead of waiting for retail, I'm probably going to wait for retail. I mean, that's just the way I am. I don't think Kickstarter is necessarily a good fit for me. I'm not really a shop till you drop kind of person, and I look at stuff and I think, oh cool and oh shiny and that looks amazing, but I don't at the same time say, and I've got to have it. That's just the way I am. And I mean, I'm one of these kind of people that's perfectly happy window shopping, and I don't feel like I need to have or want to have every nice looking thing I see in those windows. So those are my thoughts on Kickstarter. I don't think I'm particularly profligate in terms of buying stuff on Kickstarter. You may have a different opinion. Tell me in comments. That's fine if you think I'm spending way too much with all of my teeny tiny little games and print and plays and button shies and postcards and small box games. They do add up, but it's not like I'm getting dozens and dozens and dozens of them. The actual number for 2 years is below a dozen. So when I look at the number that other gamers are buying on Kickstarter and backing and stuff, I feel like, quite the novice at this. But I don't have the same I don't have the same desires and drives that other people do that back a lot of Kickstarters. And I just, when I started getting into the board game hobby, I got a lot of stuff because I was still figuring out what I liked. I was still figuring out what was good for us playing. I was still figuring out what that whole gaming thing was going to look like, who we would be playing with, what sort of things we would be playing, what we liked and what we didn't like. But that was like in 1920s, so we're a few years further along now, and I got a pretty good bead on it, so I'm not trying out, I do try out new games, but I usually don't try out new stuff that I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it by backing a big expensive Kickstarter. I usually do that, like try out something new that I'm not sure that I will like buying something inexpensive retail or even used. Which reminds me, we have culled some games, but I think that might actually require a different video. So anyhow, let me know what your thoughts are about backing Kickstarters, how you look at it, the kind of things you back and don't back, and how you feel about your purchases. I would be really interested to know. And if you think I am spending reasonable amounts, or if I have an out of control Kickstarter habit, I would like to know that too, because we are not always the best judges of our own behavior. So anyhow, it's been good talking to you, sitting around the table with games, and I will do a video that talks about this more because we had so much fun playing it. I may even talk more about the postcard games when the new ones come out this summer. But that's it for now. It's been good talking to you, and thank you for joining me around the table. We've got new subscribers, which just never ceases to amaze me. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting ahead of time of all those comments. Yes, I'm thanking you now, so you're already thanked, even if you say something snarky. And I'll see you next time around the table. Bye.